Live from Studio G in the heart of America. I'm Steve Gruber, saying the things you wish you could in polite company, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, defending this great nation every day. This is the Steve Gruber Show, and here are three big things you need to know right now. Number one, a bizarre attempt by an off-duty airline pilot apparently tried to bring down a regional aircraft with more than 80 people on board. I'll have that story for you, and the 83 counts of attempted murder. Number two, prosecutors from the DOJ that were involved in the Hunter Biden investigation on the hot seat, facing tough questions on how they may have protected the son of the president. And number three, time to look at the big numbers of the day, and these are some important numbers that could have big impact on what happens in the world over the next 12 months. When we arrive at November 5th, 2024, on Election Day, and those are key numbers to keep in mind. First, new polling that for the first time in a credible poll includes all four candidates pulling national support: Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Cornel West. And there's a very clear leader. It's Donald Trump. In fact, the numbers must be a shock to the system of those that have campaigned against the 45th president for so very long, since 2015. And for those that thought RFK Jr. would drain support for the former president, well, you've got your hands full now. The Harvard-Harris poll shows Trump with a commanding 7-point lead over Joe Biden, 41% to 34%. Kennedy coming in a strong 21%, and West sneaks in on the field goal with 3 points. Another poll from USA Today shows Trump and Biden tied, and the big difference is this. It shows the two tied at 37%, but it shows Kennedy at just 13%, which, by the way, I do not believe. RFK is going to pull around 20%, maybe a bit higher. And most of that's going to bleed Joe Biden to death, politically speaking. It's a problem that would not be cured by Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer, because Trump's base is rock solid at about 40 points or just higher. And with each day of the stagnant economy, an open border, and two wars we're footing the bills for, Biden gets less popular, and the campaign of RFK picks up those who cannot support the fading and mumbling president, but also will not vote for Donald Trump. Today, the big number is Trump has better odds of winning than Joe Biden, and that number is getting stronger by the day as well. And speaking of an important number, how about being number one? America first. That was the number Donald Trump was delivering to the first in the nation primary state of New Hampshire yesterday. Trump making comments to a crowd there, and he says it needs to be America first every single day. Listen.
This is on our businesses. Why are you doing that? He said, Macron, nice guy. You know, look, he's for France. I'm for us. I'm for us. You know how you spell us, right? You spell us, U.S. I just picked that up. Has anyone ever thought of that? I just picked that up. A couple of days I'm reading, and it said us. And I said, you know, if you think about it, us equals U.S. Isn't that? Now, if we say something genius, they'll never say it. You know, we get 25, 30, 40, 50, 80,000, 100,000 people to speeches. They've never said Trump's a great speaker. Never said. I've never heard it. I said to my people, do you think they'll ever acknowledge I must be doing okay? Except I'm a very handsome person, so I guess a lot of you want to sit. They want to sit and look at me because I'm so, like a beauty pageant. No, it's amazing.
Yeah, amazing. And while he was focused on America first, the administration doing its level best to defend the jaw-dropping amount of money. They're demanding for the wars in Ukraine, Israel, and to support the collapsed southern border. John Kirby is spreading the BS that we are low on weapons. Trust me, we're not. But they're piling up more just in case. Listen to this.
Where U.S. weapons stockpiles stand, with two wars sending now two different types of shipments on a regular basis towards two U.S. allies, how big is the concern that the U.S. is dangerously low on what it should have for its own defense right now?
Well, of course it's a concern. That's why we asked for that extra supplemental funding from Congress. Without getting into classified information, I can assure you and the American people that the United States military can continue to defend our national security interests all around the world. But it's something that we watch very, very closely. And with every single aid package that goes to Ukraine and now Israel, the Department of Defense has to do an assessment to make sure that we can continue to meet our own war plans, our own operational needs. And we're doing that. We've also revitalized the defense industry to create, to manufacture manufacture and produce much more of these munitions so that we can, A, keep them going to Ukraine and Israel, but also, B, replenish those stocks. But it is important, and that's exactly why the president asked for that supplemental funding.
All right, there you have it. We need to buy more weapons for ourselves because we're shipping too much overseas. You make of that what you will. Meanwhile, over in La La Land, we have news commentators that have gone so far they need to think about dialing the numbers that will get them in touch with mental health professionals. I mean, it is shocking to see the number of national politicians that are blaming Israeli citizens for being murdered. About 1,500 in the beginning, and of course that was just the first number, it's counting. For being murdered by terrorists, sadists from Hamas back on October the 7th. Calling MSNBC delusional and Nicole Wallace with a room temperature IQ mentally ill is not nearly strong enough language. With Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib supporting terrorists and universities unable to voice support for Israel, she blathers on about the world would be more dangerous without Joe Biden in the White House. She clearly needs to be Baker acted for her own safety, and I mean soon. Listen.
And it's the first time that I think a broad coalition of Americans realizes that if Donald Trump were president right now, the world would be a much, much more dangerous place, with the Middle East on a hair trigger, with threats of violence at home, with Jewish American communities, with Muslim American communities terrified right now. The country probably couldn't handle a Trump presidency wherein his own chief of staff described him as, quote, the most damaged human being he'd ever seen. And a couple of defense secretaries were out the door for cause, for things they saw that gave them concern about U.S. national security.
Yeah. She needs to be Baker acted, and I mean like yesterday. I wonder if Wallace will be equally certifiably nuts when Iran directs Hezbollah to attack from the north out of Lebanon into Israel, which creates another number that is concerning. That is, of course, two fronts. And the idea that a second front could open in the north of Israel with Hezbollah is, well, to me, and to lots of other folks, very likely. In fact, it's almost certain. Listen.
And just very briefly, Secretary Blinken addressed this. How concerned is Israel about Hezbollah in the north?
Very concerned. And I have to put my, full disclosure. I have been very vocal in the Israeli press, starting already 2 weeks ago, about whether we should reconsider our intention to invade Gaza at this time. Hamas is not going anywhere. It's trapped. We can continue to hit it from the air, the sea, ground. Hezbollah represents a threat which is about 15 times bigger than Hamas. They have 150,000 rockets, which are heavier. They're longer range. They're more accurate. They have a terrorist force that has been massacring Syrians for a decade. It's a serious, serious threat that maybe we cannot live with this threat indefinitely.
Yeah, live with this threat indefinitely. All right, so this is where we are. You've got the media amplifying the anti-Israeli sentiment, attacking Donald Trump. Well, the world would be more dangerous with Donald Trump. I don't remember major wars in Europe or the Middle East when Donald Trump was president. To you, I must have missed that day at school. I remember being respected on the world stage, not ridiculed and mocked. And I don't remember the Chinese Communist Party building factories as fast as they could when Trump was president, but maybe I missed it. We'll have more in a moment.